Joe wanted me to come in and just speak to you a little bit about my position, what I do, and how I got here. I guess how I got here is pretty straightforward. After college, I had a degree. I was working in insurance, and I said, well, this is not what I like. So I went back to grad school at night, as basically a night class for about a year and a half. And then opportunity in the athletic department. This is at Kent State in Ohio. An opportunity in the athletic business office came open as a graduate intern or a graduate assistant. So I took that, and that was, I think, key to everything that happened, because basically there was the business manager for athletics and myself, and whatever he did, I was with him and shadowed him and learned everything. So, and this was, back in the day before computers, computers were just coming out. That's how long ago this was. So that's how I got a graduate degree in sports administration at Kent State. And then when that was done, I basically started looking for jobs anywhere in the country. I just wanted to get into college athletics. I didn't care where it was at the time. So I applied everywhere, and a job at UW-Whitewater came open. This was quite a while ago. Willie Myers, whose name is up on our wrestling gym, was the AD at the time. And so I came and interviewed and got the job here. And it's been 31 years later, and I'm still here. So things have worked out pretty well. A little bit of difference back then. Sports administration was a new field in academics, and so I feel there are very few graduate programs in graduate schools for sports administration, and now I think they're probably everywhere. I don't even know how many programs, but back in the day, there weren't very many. So when I got that degree, there weren't many people that had that degree. I think today there's a lot of people getting those degrees, and I'm not sure what the job market is for people just graduating now. They're going to have to pay some dues. But I did pay my dues there in graduate school, and then I got here, and my position was athletic business manager. I'm currently now the associate athletic director, but when I got here, it was athletic business manager. And part of the problem, as I look back, is that the job and the responsibilities weren't clearly defined. So my office became almost a dumping ground, if you will, for everything that happened. Whether it was the event management, whether it was purchases, whether it was travel, whether it was budgeting, it was fundraising. Everything somehow, some way, ended up coming through my office, even if it was just to be processed. So the good and bad of that is that it was a lot of work. The good of it was that I got exposed to a lot of different areas that were necessary to function as a department. So now, I'll tell you what my responsibilities are or have been, because things have changed and we've increased staffing, so sometimes some things that I've done I don't do anymore. Some things I didn't do before I do now, that type of thing. But we've been very fortunate with the support of our administration on campus to have some good staffing. So there's been some help for me in that area. First and foremost, my responsibility is the athletic operating budget. Okay, that means the day-to-day operations of the department. Your team travel, your team purchases, paying officials, any expense that come through regular athletics. My office is not responsible for anything that has to do with salaries, coaches' salaries, and benefits, and that type of thing. That's all handled through our HR office. But my office handles all the operating things, the day-to-day things. So your purchases, your equipment, they have to go through my office. Team budgets, we set the team budgets. Budgets are made up through your student fees. When you pay your tuition and fees, a portion of your fee goes to fund different student activities, of which athletics is one. Travel requests and travel expense reports. I don't know if any of you are on teams here, but when you travel, coaches get an advance. They get that advance, and then they use that for expenses on the trip, whether it's food, hotel. They also have credit cards for the university. We have to monitor that. So that in itself, as you can imagine, athletic department travel with 20 teams is pretty extensive. So that's a big portion of what comes through my office. And one of the changes is I have Joe now to help me process a lot of that stuff. So that's been a tremendous help. And then, of course, with that travel, we have to stay within the state guidelines. The UW system travel policy is also very, I don't know what the appropriate word is. Sometimes it's kind of hard to follow just because it's so restrictive in what's done as far as what you can purchase, when you can eat lunch, when you can have dinner, how much you're allowed, and those types of things. And same with the purchasing. There's a lot of state purchasing guidelines when things have to go out to bid if they're over a certain amount. You can't just order something and pay for it. It has to go through a state bid process. Another part of the budget is what's called the EADA. That's the Equity and Athletic Disclosure Act. I don't know if you touched on Title IX in here. You gotta know what Title IX is, gender equity. Okay. As a result of that, there's a yearly report that's required by the federal government of every athletic department that receives federal funding, which every college basically receives federal funding. And that's due at the end of this month, so that's something that's starting right now. And that basically shows, it's a public record of expenditures and revenues generated by the athletic department in the previous year. And that has to be made available to the public every year at the conclusion, and that's required by the federal government. And there's also NCAA reports that are due every year, and those are due, that will be due in January for last year, so they give you a little more time. And that's kind of similar, but it doesn't have as much detail. So that basically takes up most of my day, those different areas. But there's also different areas, all the cash handling operations that come through athletics, except for football and basketball, which is through our ticket office over in Young Auditorium. Same ticket office that handles tickets for plays and concerts and theater and dance events, handles athletic events for football and basketball. But for the other sports such as volleyball or baseball or track, any other events that has money, that has to come through my office, and that gets processed and that gets recorded, and that's all subject to the system auditor, the university auditor, and the state auditor. So we have to have records that match that. So I am basically the campus liaison to the campus financial service office to see that all these things, the cash handling, the travel expenses, everything is in compliance with the UW system. Okay. Another big area is postseason. As you know, we're a very successful athletic department, so we host a lot of NCAA tournaments and championships, and all that has to go through a bid process that we submit to the NCAA. Because right now we just got the notice that anybody that wants to host postseason football, those bids are due at the end of this month. So that's another thing I'm working on, and obviously with our history in football, they know that we know what we're doing. But we have to submit to them. We have to reserve hotels for all the visiting teams. Okay, we have to provide a breakdown of expenditures for the security at the event, the ticket takers, ticket sellers, clock operators, chain gang, all the different things that go into the event, and then as well as project what our revenue for that event will be based on ticket sales. And then that gets submitted, and all the schools that want to host, they review those, and then they award a bid to the school they think is appropriate. And usually, almost always, it's based on ranking. So as a #1 seed, we'll almost always get that bid. Sometimes if things are even, they may look at the bottom line of the bid to see who's going to generate the most money. But that's not always the case. Sometimes they look at who has the best facility. So obviously we have the best facility in the country, so we'll get the bid 99 times out of 100. And so we have to oversee the postseason travel for all those sports if we do travel, or if we do travel to the national championship. And those are also subject to NCAA regulations, okay? So the NCAA has a formula that they will reimburse you for your travel, but that formula is based on their numbers, and that doesn't always jive with what we do as far as when we leave, when we return, how many people we're traveling with, that type of thing. The NCAA allows you a per diem for the day before competition, day of competition, and the day after competition. If it's a type of thing like softball, or there's day in between, they also allow per diem for that. And they also restrict the number of people you're traveling with. They have that all spelled out. But the numbers that they allow you to travel with aren't always enough to cover what we think we need. So a lot of times, you know, I think their allowance for football is only 68, with 60 in uniform, I think it is, and 8 on the 8 coaches. And obviously, we travel with a lot more than that based on what the trainers, equipment people, sports information, and those types of things. So what will happen is they'll plug their formula in and give you a reimbursement for that formula. If you spend over that, then that's your responsibility as a university. Event management, which Joe probably has talked to you about. I've been involved in that right from the start. Fortunately, now we have some people on staff that can take that as their main thing and relieve that from me. But the thing I always say to event management is, you've always heard that expression, don't sweat the small stuff. Well, event management is all small stuff. It's 100 little things going on that when they go right, nobody even notices. But if they don't go right, everybody notices, and it makes you look bad. But it's everything from your clock operators to your scoreboard operators to greeting your visiting team, so when they come in the building, they know where to go, somebody's here for them, greeting the officials, having security, making sure your ticket office is there, making sure the facility is set up, whether it's, I mean, there's been, like I say, there's little things like out of soccer, somebody forgot to put the flag up. It's a very small thing. Then when you tell everybody to stand up for the national anthem and there's no flag, it's awful. So it's just a checklist of a bunch of little things. Who's going to be there to greet the team when they come in? Who's going to tell the bus where to go? Who's going to get the flag up? Who's going to arrange for the ticket office to be there? So it's just a bunch of small things. The other thing that I'm involved with is our foundation. Foundation is money that's generated by fundraising. So when teams do fundraising activities, that goes to the foundation, which is technically a separate entity than the university. They're two different things. And there's different rules and regulations for spending those funds. But it's a very busy process that there's a lot of transactions coming in and out. So what we do is we give a coach a monthly printout of their foundation, their fundraising, basically what it is, how much they brought in, how much they've spent, and a balance, kind of like you would a checkbook. And then, but that involves a lot of paperwork, but it's, we're relying more and more on fundraising money to help us out, just because of all the things we need to do. But that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. I know it doesn't sound exciting, or it doesn't sound, you know, anything spectacular, but it's more than enough to keep me busy. And I think things that have changed over the years, most for me here, is obviously technology. I admit it, I'm not the keenest on technology. I always rely on Joe or a student in the office to help me out with things that need to be done there. And the biggest change in the department, I think, has been the philosophy of the department. We are a Division III school, non-scholarship school, but we almost have a Division I mentality in what we're trying to do with our staffing, with our facilities, the level of competition that we're trying to do. We do focus on national championships. I mean, that's what everyone here is trying to attain. Yeah, some Division III schools don't have that philosophy, don't have the support that we have. You know, they're more driven by enrollment. Their purpose is to generate income for the school through enrollment, because they're mostly private schools at the Division III level. But we have a philosophy that we want to be competitive. We want to provide the opportunity for our athletes and our coaches to compete at a national level. We try to do that through funding, through staffing, through facilities, through the scheduling, and those types of things. But other than that, that's what fills my day. So I don't know if you have any questions about what I do, or what you should do to try and get into something like that. But do you have any questions?
Bob, did you talk about the bidding process? I'd step out for a second. The
For
bidding.
NCAA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Okay.
For to host NCAA competition, we have to go through a bid process and submit the cost and the expenses. goes to the best team, but sometimes it goes to the best facility. Another thing the NCAA does, they do have travel restrictions. So for early round games, they'll try and assign competition on a geographic basis. They've gone from 400 to 400, but they try to keep the first round competition within 450 miles, because after you get over that, they've raised it to 500 now. They will fly you, but under 500, they expect you to bus. So they're trying to get, and we have a pretty good location for that, because we have the Illinois schools, the Minnesota schools, the Wisconsin schools, the Iowa schools that are all within driving distance. So they're not going to try and schedule somebody from California or Texas against us in the early rounds, try and weed that out. So our location helps us in our bid process too, because we're close to a lot of Division III schools. Any questions? Anybody go to the game last week? You know the game? Okay. Oh yeah, 15,000 people there. That's something you don't see at Division III schools. Football. Pretty wild. And that's completely different than when I started, when we were 2,000 people. It's just part of the growth that's coming.
How big would you say the budget is?
The budget is, off the top of my head, this is just for the operating, it's about 800,000. And that includes all the sports, but includes the training, you gotta have the training rooms, the sports information department, the equipment reserve, uniform rotation, all those different things. And that's through student fees and through money generated through our ticket sales combination. That doesn't include any staffing salaries.
This kind of goes into my question of budgeting. I did a little bit with SUPAC last year, so I know that athletics got about $12,000 in student fees, so how much?
12,000?
I believe so.
12,000 for the whole department.
No SUPAC.
No.
So what exactly is the breakdown?
Our student fees that we get? I should know this because I'm working on it. It's around 500,000. Total.
I'm gonna give you a copy of the budget.
Okay, yeah. I can give you a copy of what I got. Sure, okay. But we have with our student, basically we're student fee driven
So
department.
then is it just like student fees and then federal funding, or is there other breakdowns within?
No, the operation is just student fees and the money generated through gift season anyway.
Oh, okay.
And all the state money and that would go towards the salary portion, all the benefits and things like that. I guess it's two factors. That's coming up end of the month. Yeah.
So yeah, your graduate degree was in sports administration. So what your undergraduate degree was at Cato?
It was in communications. And back when I'm from Ohio, so I grew up in Cleveland, and when I graduated college, back then, the economy wasn't too good, and the jobs are a bit better now, but when I graduated, the jobs were scarce, so, thought, man, what do I want to do? And I started working in insurance. Wasn't what I wanted to do, so I kept plugging away at night class. It took like 3 years of night classes and doing things like that. And fortunately, that intern or graduate assistantship came open, and that's what really helped out. I think hands-on experience is more important than work experience, because you're actually doing the job day to day. Okay.
Anyone, anything else? Okay, thanks, Bob.